Okay, the third fact we want to understand about linear functions is the idea of slope, which is a number, and it's represented by the letter m in the formula. Okay, but it should always show as a number. Okay. Let me explain what slope would be like whether we were dealing with a vertical line or a horizontal line or a diagonal line. Okay. Well, a vertical line has no slope, and so because it's a vertical line, well, we'll talk about it later. But basically, a vertical line has undefined slope or no slope. It does not have zero slope. A horizontal line has zero slope. Okay. So anytime you're talking about a horizontal line, if you want to know the slope is zero. Okay. If it's a vertical line, you want to know what the slope is. You would say that the slope is either undefined or you would say that it has no slope. Okay. But we're most interested in diagonal lines, the slope of a diagonal line. If a line contains the points x1, y1, and x2, y2, okay? Now these 2 points, they're going to have actual numbers. It's going to be like, 5, 7, and, 9, 43, or something like that. They're going to be actual numbers, okay? So x1 is a number, y1 is a number, x2 is a number, and y2 is a number. And if these 2 points are on the line, then the slope of that line, which we call m, can be calculated simply by taking the second y value and subtracting the first y value in the numerator, y2 minus y1. Then in the denominator, you take the first or the second x value and you subtract the first x value, x2 minus x1. Okay, and then this would give you a fraction which could be reduced, but that would be the slope. Okay, now this slope is also called the rate of change often, and it's connected to what I call the per value. So whenever you see per, like miles per gallon or dollars per hour, these numbers, if a car is getting 20 miles per gallon, then if it uses 1 gallon, it went 20 miles. If it used 2 gallons, it went 40 miles. If somebody earns $12 per hour, if they work 1 hour, they earn $12. If they work 2 hours, they earn $24. Okay? And so the slope, anytime you see the word per with a number, it's probably a slope. Okay? Slope is how much the function value changes when the input changes by 1. Okay, so like I said, if you earn $12 per hour, your pay changes by $12 whenever your hours go up by 1. If your car gets 20 miles per gallon, then you've gone 20 miles every time you use 1 gallon of gas. All right, so now we're going to talk about 2 other elements, the y-intercept and the x-intercept. The y-intercept is represented by the letter b. The x-intercept does not have a specific letter designation, but it can be found by taking negative b and dividing it by m. Okay. I would write that down. That could be very useful. The y-axis, so the y-intercept is basically just the y-axis value where the line graph intersects the y-axis. Okay, so here's the y-axis, and here's a line graph, and where the line graph intersects the y-axis right here, that's the y-intercept, which is negative 4. Oops, I didn't put a negative on there. Which is negative 4. Negative 4. Okay. So b is equal to negative 4. Similarly, the x-intercept is the x-axis value where the line graph intersects the x-axis. So this is the x-axis right here. Here's the line graph, and where this line graph crosses over the x-axis right here, it crosses over at 5. So the x-intercept is equal to 5. Okay? We can also understand the y-intercept as the function output value when you plug a 0 in for x. Okay? So look, let's say that we have this situation. Let's say that you're playing a video game and you have health, a health level, and when you're in a big fight, you're losing 200 health points every second. X is representing the number of seconds. Because you're losing 200 per second, your slope is minus 200 because you're losing 200, okay? And then plus 3,000. This plus 3,000, that's the y-intercept. Sometimes we call that the starting value. So you started with 3,000 health, and you're losing 200 health every second in the fight, okay? But if x was 0, if you plug the 0 in for x, 0 times negative 200 is 0, plus 3,000 is 3,000. So 3,000 is the starting value, okay? The x-intercept is the solution for x when the function is set equal to 0. So if we took this linear function here and plugged 0 in for health, what would 0 health mean? Well, that's when you run out of health. That's when your character dies, okay? And then we would solve for x, and if we solve for x, x would be 15, because 15 times negative 200 is negative 3,000, and negative 3,000 plus 3,000 is 0, okay? So the x-intercept is whatever the x solution is when you set your equation equal to 0. So if you make y equal 0, it's the x value. But the y-intercept is if you make x equal 0, then it's the y